Hi everyone, this is HM&S video number 49 and you are most welcome for it. We are still looking at different lookup functions in Excel, and today we are going to look at the choose function. The choose function can be used to look up very many things. It can be used to look up text, numbers, define names, functions, and many others. But today in this video we are going to look at 3 different situations where the choose functions are mostly used for. So let's switch on to Excel and we dive deeper into how to use the choose function. This table here is showing the African Cup of Nations quarterfinalists. We have the positions here and then the teams here. We want to come down here and be able to display the name of the country on this cell here, basing on the position we have selected from this cell here. Now there are a number of ways you can do this, but today we want to use the choose function to do it. So I'm going to click on this cell here and do equals to choose. When I see it highlighted in blue, I'm going to hit tab to select it. Now the choose function needs the index number, then you give it value 1, value 2, value 3, just like that. When the index number is 1, that corresponds to value 1, and when the index number is 2, that corresponds to what's on value 2. Index number 3 corresponds to what's on value 3, just like that. Like for example, when the index number is 1, it's like we are telling the choose function to display for us what's on value 1, or to use what's on value 1. Now instead of typing the number I want on the index number argument, I already have my positions here which is having all the numbers I want. I want to be able to change the numbers from this cell here. So I'm going to click on this cell for the index number and then comma. Now when it comes to values, you need to type in all your values on the function. If the values are text like ours here, you need to put it in double quotes. Anytime you're putting a text in a formula, you need to put it in double quotes. So I'm going to use 8 values here from value 1, value 2, value 3, just like that. So I'm going to start with South Africa. So open quotation, South Africa, and then close quotation. Now South Africa is on value 1. To go to value 2, I'm going to hit comma. Then for value 2, I'm going to open quotation, type the next country, Egypt, close quotation, comma to go to value 3, open quotation, Nigeria, close quotation, comma to go to value 4. For value 4, 5, 6, and 7, I'm speeding it up, close quotation, comma. Now the last one is value 8, open quotation, Uganda, close quotation. Now when you are done listing all your values like this, you simply need to close your bracket. Now I want you to realize something. Each of these countries is sitting on its own value. Value 1, South Africa, value 2, Egypt, value 6, Algeria, value 8, Uganda. So we have 8 different teams here. So let's hit enter and we see whether it's going to work. So it's working for position 1, that's South Africa. When I come here, click, let's say position 4. Position 4 is Kenya. You can see from here this is Kenya. Then let's try it one more time. 8. Position 8 is Uganda. So it's actually working very well. So that's how the choose function works. Now what if you already have your text type in Excel like this one here, with the correct open and close quotation and also comma separating them like this one here, and you want to use the choose function, you simply need to copy it in edit mode, then you go and paste it on the values. So let's double click to put it in edit mode. I'm going to highlight all of them like this, then Control C to copy it, escape. Now let's click on this cell and we do equals to choose. When I see it highlighted in blue, I'm going to hit tab to select it. Now for the index number, we're still going to give it the same numbers. I'm going to click on this cell here, then comma. Instead of typing it like we have done above here, I'm simply going to Control V to paste what I've already copied. Now we can actually prove it. When I click on value 1, you can see South Africa is highlighted. When I click on value 4, you can see Kenya is highlighted. So each of these countries is actually sitting on its own value, as you can see. So all we need to do, we need to come to the end, and then we close the bracket. When I hit enter, you can see it's actually giving us the same result. Let's test, click, let's say 3. Nigeria, we can see Nigeria is on position 3. Let's do it one more time. Let's say 6. You can see Algeria is on position 6. So it's actually working very well. Now let's scroll down and we see our second example. On this second example here, we want to see how we can use choose to look up functions. Here we have some weekly sales data. This is a sale for week 1. This is a sale for week 2. This is a sale for week 4. Now we want to come down here and on this particular cell here, When we put there 1, we want this cell to display for us the average of these sales here. When we put there 2, we want the cell to display for us the highest sale. And when we put here 3, we want this cell to display for us the lowest sale. Now I have some guide here which is showing us 1 for average, 2 for highest, and then 3 for lowest. So let's first of all type here 1, tab. So on this particular cell here, I'm going to do the choose. So I'm going to do equals to choose. When I see it highlighted in blue, I'm going to hit tab to select it. For the index number, we're going to type the numbers here. So I'm going to click on that cell there, then comma. Now, when it comes to value 1, I'm going to calculate the average on the value 1 argument. So I'm going to do average. When I see it highlighted in blue, I'm going to hit tab to select it. I'm simply going to highlight my range here like this, and then close my bracket like this. Now the average function is sitting on the value 1 argument. So I'm going to hit comma to go to value 2. Now for value 2, we want the highest sale, and the function we are going to use to get us the highest sale is the large function. So I'm going to hit tab to select it. The array is going to be the same numbers here, and then comma. For the k, we want the largest, so I'm going to give 1 for k. If you put k to be 2, it will give you the second largest, and if you put k to be 3, it will give you the third largest. But we are putting k to be 1 because we want the largest. So I'm going to close my bracket on the large function. So the entire large function is sitting on the value 2 argument of the choose function. So I'm going to hit comma to go to value 3. Now for value 3, we want the smallest sale. So we are going to use the small function. Tab to select it. Again, the array is going to be the same numbers. And then comma. For k, we want the smallest. So I'm going to give k 1. Again for k, if you give it 2, it will give you the second smallest. 3, the third smallest, just like that. But I'm going to give it 1 because I want the smallest. So I'm going to close my bracket on the small function. Now the entire average function is sitting on the value 1 argument. The entire large function is sitting on the value 2 argument. And then the entire small function is sitting on the value 3 argument. I simply need to come to the end, and then I close my bracket like this. Now when I hit enter, you can see we have typed here 1, that means we want the average. So the average sales is $20,000. If I come here and type 2, when I hit enter, for 2 we need the highest, and we can see the highest sale is $35,000. And then when we type here 3 and hit enter, you can see the lowest sale is $10,000, which is this one here. So it's actually working very well. Now what if we want to control what we want from this top cell here by using these very names here, average, highest, and lowest? We can actually find a way of linking this cell to this cell here, so that when we type here average, this cell can actually show 1, and that 1 will help the choose function to calculate for us the average. And when we type here highest, this cell will display 2, and that 2 will help the choose function to display for us the highest sale. So to do that, let me first type here average, enter. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on this cell. There are actually a number of ways you can actually link the two, but I'm going to use the index and match function that we have just seen a few videos ago. So I'm going to do equals to index, tab to select it. The array is simply what we want to go and pick and bring it here. So that's going to be our numbers here. So I'm going to highlight just these numbers here, and then comma. When it comes to the raw number, I'm going to use the match function, tab to select it. The lookup value is going to be the value from this cell here, and then comma. The lookup array is simply going to be these names here, the average, highest, and the lowest, and then comma. For the match type, we are doing exact match, so I'm going to down arrow to select 0 or exact match, tab to select it, and it will put for me 0 there. So I'm going to close my bracket on the match function, close my bracket on the index function. So when I hit enter, you can see when I type here average, the index and match function is giving us number 1, and that number 1 is used by choose function to display for us the average. So when I come here and type, let's say highest, when I hit enter, index and match function is displaying for us 2, and that 2 is being used by the choose function to calculate for us the highest sale. So let's do lowest again. When I hit enter, index and match function is displaying for us 3, and that 3 is used by the choose function to display for us the lowest sale. So that's how you can use the choose function to look up functions or formulas. So let's scroll down and we see our last example, and this is actually the most important example. This is an example that we saw last video, but last video we did it using index and match function. We have this table here, it's having the continent and then the continent ID. We have 3 continents here. Africa is given a continent ID of 1, Asia is given a continent ID of 2, and then Europe is given a continent ID of 3. Now we have this table here. This table is showing the respondent ID, the continent ID, the country, and then the question number. Also, we have 3 tables at the side here. The first table here is for Africa, which is given a continent ID of 1, and it's having 3 respondents. The second table here is for Asia, which is given a continent ID of 2, and it's also having 3 respondents. And then the third table here is for Europe, which is given a continent ID of 3, and it's also having 3 respondents. So what we want to do on this example here, we're going to come to this particular country column here, look up the respondent ID and then the continent ID, and then we bring the correct country name on this column here. Now we're going to use the VLOOKUP and the choose function to do that, but let's remind ourselves about how we did it last video using index and match function. So I'm going to click on this cell and do equals to index, tab to select it. Now if you're using index and match function and you have multiple tables that you are looking up from, you need to use this second form here, that is the reference form. So on the reference argument, I'm going to put all the 3 tables here. So I'm going to open bracket, highlight the first one. You only highlight what you want to go and pick and you bring it here. So I'm going to highlight the first 3 respondents country, then hit the F4 key to lock it because I'm going to copy my formula down, and then comma, I'm going to highlight the second respondent country here, that is from the second table, hit the F4 key to lock it, and then comma, going to the third table, I'm going to highlight just what I want to go and pick and bring it here, hit the F4 key to lock it, I'm going to close my bracket. Now all these 3 tables here are sitting on the reference argument of the index function. So I'm going to hit comma to go to the row number. Now for the row number, that's where we use the match function. Tab to select it. For the lookup value, you're looking up the respondent ID. So I'm going to click on this respondent ID here, and then comma. The lookup array is going to be our respondent ID. Now when you're using index and match function, your lookup array needs to be the same in all the tables. But when you're using VLOOKUP and choose, they can actually be different. Now since they are the same, I'm going to highlight just one of them. Let me highlight this second one here, and then also hit the F4 key to lock it, and then comma. When it comes to the match type, I'm going to do exact match. So down arrow to select 0 or exact match, tab to select it, and it will put for me 0 there. I'm going to close my bracket on the match function. So the entire match function is sitting on the row number argument of the index function. Now when I hit comma, it will go to the column number. Now since we are doing only one-way lookup, we don't need any column number. So I'm going to hit comma to go to the area number. Now this area number is actually very important because it's what tells the index function which table we want. Now we have the continent ID here, which is showing us exactly which table we want. So I'm going to click on the first continent ID here. That will go to the area number argument. So I'm going to close my bracket. When I control enter, and then I copy my formula down, you can see it's actually working very well. Now let's see how we can also use VLOOKUP and choose function to do the same thing. I'm going to click on this cell here and do equals to VLOOKUP, tab to select it. For the lookup value, you're looking up the respondent ID. I'm going to click on the respondent ID and then comma to go to the table array. Now when it comes to the table array, since we have 3 tables here, we are going to use the choose function to help us choose which table we want. So I'm going to hit tab to select it. For the index number, that will be the continent ID. So I'm going to click on the continent ID and then comma. Now the value arguments, we are going to put the tables. Now for value 1, since Africa is having a continent ID of 1, that's going to be Africa. I'm going to highlight this Africa table here. Hit the F4 key to lock it, comma. For value 2, since Asia is having the continent ID of 2, I'm going to highlight this table for Asia like this. Hit the F4 key to lock it, comma. Value 3 is going to be Europe. Since Europe is having a continent ID of 3, I'm going to highlight Europe like this. Hit the F4 key to lock it. And then I'm going to close my bracket on the choose. Now the choose function here is sitting on the table array of the VLOOKUP function. and it's going to help us choose exactly which table we want for any particular continent ID from here. So I'm going to come to the end, click. Now before I go to the column index number, the advantage of using VLOOKUP and choose function over index and match function that we have seen is that when you're using VLOOKUP and choose function, you can have your table in a different worksheet and it will work very well. We're still on the table array of the VLOOKUP function. I'm going to hit comma to go to the column index number. Now from all these tables here, what we want is on the second column. So I'm going to type there 2 and then comma. When it comes to the range lookup, we're doing exact match lookup. So I'm going to down arrow to select false or exact match. Tab to select it. It will put for me false there. I'm going to close my bracket. Now when I control enter and then I double click to copy it down, you can see it's actually working. Now let's prove whether it's actually working very well. The second one here is having a respondent ID 2 and then the continent ID 2. So that means since the continent ID is 2, that one is actually going to be the second table here. And then the respondent ID 2 is this one here. The respondent's country is Philippines. That's why we have Philippines here. So that one is actually working very well. And then here we have the respondent ID of 1 and then the continent ID of 3. That means we're going to come to the continent ID of 3, which is Europe. And then the respondent ID of 1 is this one here. So the respondent's countries is England. So we can see that's why we have England here. So it's actually working very well. Yeah, that is it for this particular video here. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe. And if you found this video interesting, give it a like and then you share it with your friends. This is a playlist that's having all the videos about lookup functions. You can click on it, then you go and watch it. Until next video, HM&S video number 50, then we meet again. Thank you.